welcome back to Blitz. Today we are going to be looking at Valentine AT, the Tier 3 tank destroyer for the Brits. I happen to really like this tank. I decided to go down the British TD line because I haven't done that line at all, because it's got some great TDs around Tier 6 and up, I think it is. So I wanted to get to those, but have to play through these first, and these lower tier TDs aren't actually that bad. They're actually pretty nice. So, let's have a quick look at the stats for this thing. It's got 270 hit points. It's alright. It's not the best, but it'll do. Now, I want to say something about the armor. It says it's 60 all around, which seems pretty good, but there's a tendency for it to only be talking about the frontmost part of the tank, or when it says that the front of the tank, for instance, is 60 millimeters of armor, it probably doesn't mean the whole front of the tank. Probably just means certain areas, like, for instance, this flat upper glacial part is 60, and that slightly slanted lower glacial part is also 60. However, these upper parts that are sloped backwards above each glacis, those are 30 millimeters. That's not bad considering they're sloped back, so it's not really a huge deal. And that means even though the armor is only 60 in some places, it's still a pretty well-armored tank, right? Well, as far as the hull goes, yes, but you look at these side skirts, I guess that's what they're called, them probably crew shields, something like that. I'm not sure what they're called. But these are nowhere near 60. These are more like 14, so that kind of brings some problems with this tank, because if someone who hasn't seen one of these before or hasn't fought one of them very often comes up against this tank, yeah, they'll most likely shoot at this part down here where there's sloping, and they won't do any good to you. Even with high explosive, it does very little damage to this thing when it's fired down here. But if they pay attention to the armor outline that shows where they can penetrate or not, or if they have experience with fighting or maybe even playing these, they'll know that this part is only around 14 millimeters and it's easily penetrated. You can fire HE into this compartment right here and really screw up the driver's day. So, let's look at some more stats really quick before I go on about this. With the upgraded engine, it has 165 horsepower. It doesn't move very quick, but it's a good speed for how heavy it is. And let's look at the gun selection. The tracks is only one, don't need to worry about that. Let's look at the guns. So this first one you'll start out with is 6-pounder. Does 67 damage and 79 average penetration. It's got a good rate of fire, pretty good aiming time, and it's pretty accurate as well. Not the best, but it's a nice gun. This is the howitzer, and boy, this is a really nice howitzer. Your damage goes from 67 average to 247 damage average. That's a really nice exchange in my opinion. Your penetration goes way down to 19 average, which, yeah, it's what you should expect with howitzer, but rate of fire also slows a lot. It goes just 3 shots a minute. Aiming time, I think it goes up. I don't know why it wouldn't. Yeah, it goes up a little bit. And of course, it's a howitzer, it's an accurate 0.55 dispersion, that's what you should expect. But I just love this howitzer on the thing, and it's really the only gun I run on this thing. In this account of mine, I haven't unlocked the next 6-pounder yet, but that's fine. I love this howitzer, and what I would recommend is that you get the howitzer before you get this, because it will be so much easier grinding your way to the next tank with the howitzer instead of this. At least if you like this gun. If you would prefer this gun, well, by all means go and ignore the howitzer, but if we take a quick look at this, the only difference is that it gets 5 more penetration, almost 1 more shot per minute, not much, and it's a little less inaccurate. It's not much of an upgrade from this gun, and that's why I decided to go for the howitzer instead. Because yes, it's got some bad sides to it, but it's got some great sides as well. This tank with the howitzer plays a little bit like a T-82 with the upgraded howitzer, except it doesn't do as much damage, and it has better armor, mostly. Except for this crew shield part. That's terrible armor. And I could be wrong. I just wanted to mention this really quick. These kind of things that look like where they would store bullets, I think those are ammo racks on the side. So, if you see the side of this, you might want to shoot at this, and maybe that'll give you an ammo rack, but it doesn't really matter, because you can just fire high explosive into the crew part anyway. It doesn't really matter, but back onto the subject. In a tier 3 battle, you can play pretty aggressive with this thing. You might want to hang back a bit, because you don't have a lot of health, and if they do know how weak this shield part is up here, you can attract quite a bit of attention, because they'll know, especially if you have a howitzer, how dangerous this thing is, and they'll want to get rid of it. But most likely, if you are aggressive with it, if you have people backing you up and shooting at what you're shooting at as well, you should have a pretty nice time. What you really find will happen a lot in this tank is if you find an enemy that's not halfway health, but not full health, it's sort of like 3/4 health, sort of like one of the British cruiser tanks. If you find one of those on maybe 3/4 health and you shoot it with this howitzer and hit it, you will one-shot kill it. You won't always one-shot anything that's on full health, unless it's tier 2. You usually have a good chance of one-shotting it, but you can definitely one-shot it if it's lost even a little bit of health. But that's only tier 3. Tier 4, it's a different story. You can still play aggressive with this tank, but only if you have backup and people that are coming with you to help you fight what's out there. Because if you go all by yourself, you are going to get utterly destroyed very quickly. Because you don't have a lot of health. And those players, hopefully, and they should, but hopefully at tier 4, they will know your weakness, your one big weakness, this shield up here. I had a Hetzer once, and I was playing a little too aggressive. He knew exactly what to do. He came right up to me. He had the howitzer that the Hetzer gets. He came right up to me, aimed for 1 second, shot me, and I was on full health, by the way, and he instantly killed me. 1 shot. And that's kind of the treatment you will get if you are not careful in this tank at a tier 4 battle. You can play aggressive at tier 3, but most of the time in a tier 4 battle, you kind of want to hang back in the crowd unless your team is moving forward. Then you want to move forward with them. And that's because this is a fairly slow tank and you don't want to get left behind where you're a single target. But you don't want to rush up though. You kind of have to hang in the back / in the middle. And that's kind of risky with a howitzer because it's not very accurate. And you have to take a while to aim before you can actually get a good shot off that might do a lot of damage. And you'll find some tanks at tier 4, in fact quite a lot of them, you just can't penetrate. And you only do maybe 87 to 100 damage. And for some light tanks that's a big deal, but for things like a T-82, which you usually only do around maybe 150 something damage to, I think that tank has around 500 health. That's not a huge deal. It is around 1/5 of its health, but that's 4/5 it still has to spare, so you don't want to get in a situation where you're the only target in one area that they can shoot at, because then when they notice you, you're dead. It's as simple as that. So basically, tier 3, you can play aggressive if you want. Tier 4, Stay with your team. Don't push unless your team is pushing, and be careful. It is very fun to play with a howitzer where you can just shotgun tanks and, for the most part, one-shot them at tier 3. So that's why I say you play with this howitzer, because it's a lot more fun, in my opinion, than playing with the 6-pounder. Yes, it's got a better rate of fire, but it's just so satisfying when you end a match with 3 kills, and each of the kills, you simply press the button once, and you killed 3 tanks. So, now you kind of know how this thing works. Let's get on to a few replays. So, here we are in Copperfield, and I have 2 replays for you. These are both going to show you just how awesome this tank is in tier 3 battles, especially when there are tier 2 tanks on the enemy team. I unfortunately don't have any tier 4 matches for you, sorry about that, but hopefully you'll enjoy these 2 matches. So, here's an example of how powerful this tank is against a tier 2 tank. Just let it aim a little, and yep, 1 shot. Now, you see that Martyr 2? That's 1 tank destroyer that you have to be, that's one of the few tanks you have to be careful that you don't get shot by, because it can take half of your health or more off with a single shot. So it can 2-shot you. You want to be very careful when you're around those tanks. And you see, half health gone. So now I gotta play a little more cautiously. Can't be as aggressive, especially with that Martyr around the corner. And I'm carrying a howitzer in this tank, so naturally I go to try and snipe the guys across the map. But you'd be surprised at what you can do, even with a howitzer in sniper mode. Of course, I totally failed that shot, but we're going to see more of that Panzer later. There's nothing I can see from up here, and I'm not going to go face off against that Martyr, so let's go down and see if we can support our teammate Panzer that is down there. He's so far doing pretty well, but his luck isn't going to last for long. So, you see that BT-7 over there? Remember what I said earlier about enemies that have 3/4 of their health gone or more? BT-7 doesn't have bad armor, but yep, we'll have him. Even a well-armored tier 3 tank is no match for this thing if it hits it. So, let's see what we can find, and oh, there's that Panzer 38. And looks like he's firing high explosive. The Panzer 38 he doesn't have bad armor, so that's why we didn't do a ton of damage, but he's gonna keep firing high explosive and not taking opportunities that he should have. And you see he's gonna fire in the wrong spots and bounce. So I think we can afford to play aggressive with this guy. It's another chunk of your health gone. So, we just gotta wait for a reload. You gotta be careful around this tank when you're waiting for a reload, that you don't get yourself killed. And he's not coming out, so we'll come to him. Say goodbye, sunshine. And that's the win for that one. Second match, and we're going to go around the heavy route in this map, see if we can flank and get some shots into the backs of the enemy tanks. Nothing spotted yet, except for that. Oh, we missed that shot. Oh, and he bounces. Probably still wasn't a great idea to charge forward on a reload, because I do pay a bit for that. Teammates saved my butt. So, that was a bit awkward. It's not the only awkwardness in this match, and that awkwardness is gonna come at a price, but for now, let's just continue. So we're gonna go around and get around the very behind of where this enemy team came from. And I don't know, are they gonna react if they Are they gonna even notice that there are some enemy tanks behind them? Are they even gonna care? Well, let's drive over there and see. So there's a medium 3 right there. Is there anything else around this corner? Ooh, we want to get rid of that guy. Alright, he's out of there. Good. And anyone gonna react? Looks like no. Medium 3 is backing up, and I don't know why he stops turning the turret, but he's giving me a nice shot into the back of his tank. And that's the end of him. So, it's another tank down. That was pretty easy, but what else can we shoot at? We're on a reload. That kidney looks like a promising target, but he's disappeared for a second, and we're still reloading, so. Can I shoot? No, he's getting forward. I am interested in him, though, so. I wonder if we can provide him with the same service that we provided the medium 3 with. So, let's see if we can get a shot off on him while he's facing the other way. Can we one-shot him? Yep. One shot into the turret, and the rest of my team has pretty much evaporated. There's only 2 left, but I'm only one man, and I'm in a tank destroyer, which does have some advantages, especially considering I'm not very fast. Still though, I should be able to win this match, right? Piece of cake, no problem. 2 light tanks, what could possibly go wrong? Just gonna drive this way. Oh, they're coming around the far way. Don't want to get caught in a sorry, I said that wrong. Don't want to get caught in crossfire. Just pan to 2G. Take a shot. He's not aiming correctly. Alright, he's on 20 health. And I don't want to get stuck in crossfire with both of them, so let's get into cover. Looks like the Panzer 2G is gonna come to me, which is nice. So, we're gonna reload, and I pop around the corner, and he's just walked right into my gun. Thanks. Now it's just that BT7, no problem, right? Should have this match in the bag. So, where is he? I don't know. Well, let's go forward and see what happens. Prepare to be disappointed, folks. One shot, pretty well done. And then I totally blunder it right here. I underestimate how much damage he can do, and he beats my reload, and I'm done. But anyway, guys, that's the Valentine AT. It's a very nice tank destroyer, and I love it. And I know you guys will love it too, especially if you play it with the howitzer, though some of you may prefer the 6-pounder gun. Anyway, guys, buy it if you want, because if you want to go down and get those really great tank destroyers that the British have, you're going to have to play one of these tanks, and it's a very nice tank to play. Anyway, guys, I'll see you later. Peace!